Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Owens.
Good morning, Indra.
Morning.
Bueno, buenos días.
I'm going to ask everybody right now if you could mute your microphones, please. And you know, the awesome part about connecting as colleagues and community, especially in light of COVID, is, you know, us having an alternative to even connect through a virtual experience. And so if your environment allows you to do so, I'm going to ask that you mute your microphone, but turn on your camera so we can all see one another and connect. And again, just know too that a lot of the tools and the strategies that I model are the same tools and strategies that we want to model and, you know, encourage our parents or, you know, teachers and other colleagues to use as well, right? We know that some of the most concerns about this virtual remote experience is that, you know, teachers are sometimes struggling with connecting with students, and the primary reason why they're having an issue with connecting with students is what, colleagues? Anybody want to share? Because students don't have their cameras on. Right? It's hard to connect when the students don't have their cameras on, and so that's a struggle. And so we're just gonna model some of the, again, the easiest strategies that we want to continue to share with parents and teachers as well as we continue to serve students. We want our students to be successful. All right, so I won't ramble too much in the beginning. We've already lost some time due to technical difficulty. So I'm excited about today's forum. Again, conversations with the counselor. My name is Indra Owens, and we're going to be talking about anger today, and how anger is an ally, and how we want to really encourage parents and teachers and educators and, you know, just support personnel as a whole, how we can help our young people and their parents. When we talk about young people, we always have to include their families as well, because, you know, we're talking about family engagement and community engagement. We want to help them manage anger in a healthy way that makes sense. Okay. All right. So let's get started. We're going to go to the first slide. Okay, so before we actually even start to talk about what anger is, I wanted to start with an icebreaker. And this icebreaker is going to be very relative to today's content. So if everybody, and you can do this with your eyes open or with your eyes closed, but if everybody right now, we're really focused on some deep breathing. And a lot of times when I talk to families, when I talk to students about deep breathing, you know, they laugh. Or if they don't laugh, they immediately want to say that it doesn't work. Right? That's almost kind of like, you know, when you try to get your try to get our smaller kids to, you know, try maybe a certain vegetable that they've never tried before, but oh, I don't like it. Well, how do you know that you don't like it if you haven't tried it? Right? At least try it to be able to say that you don't like it. And it's the same thing with some of the tools and strategies that sometimes, because our parents are, you know, not as knowledgeable about certain tools and strategies that are really easy peasy lemon squeezy, that they may be resistant to it initially, right? So, you know, we always have to be upbeat. Body language is important. We know that language is important. And I usually say, Mom, you know, don't knock it until you try it, right? So deep breathing is a huge tool that a lot of our parents of color aren't using, because a lot of times we think, oh, it sounds, you know, it's easier said than done. But again, we are expecting our parents and our children to do certain things without the proper equipment. They don't have the tools. So, you know, once we engage, once we educate, once we empower, then we equip. So deep breathing goes like this. Whether your eyes are open or closed, you should always inhale through your nose. Try to hold it for at least 4 seconds. Now, 4 seconds doesn't seem like a lot of time until you've make connected with deep breathing. So it should go like this. I'm going to close my eyes. And I usually tell parents that if you deep breathe properly, especially you holding the inhale for 4 seconds, that you should almost, your body should say thank you right after the exhale, like a thank you so much. But a lot of times when people are deep breathing, they're not deep breathing properly, so they don't feel that type of reset or they don't feel that type of release. So when we talk about what anger is, oh, anybody who actually just did the deep breathing exercise, do you want to share how you felt? Do you have any questions? Anybody in the forum today, do you use deep breathing as a personal strategy or tool at home? Okay, I see that.
Mr. Russell said he felt relaxed and put at ease.
Okay, so a lot of times, when you do deep breathing, you do it properly, you feel an instant feeling of relief or relaxation or at ease. Thank you so much for sharing, Mr. Russell. So when we talk to parents and we talk about what anger is that strong feeling of being upset or annoyed because something went wrong or something bad may have happened. That feeling that makes someone want to maybe hurt another person or shout, the feeling of being angry, right? And a lot of times as adults, we might say to our kids, don't be mad or don't be angry. And that's actually really unhealthy because the fact that our kids are showing us the emotion of anger means that their emotional receptors actually work, right? And oftentimes we challenge or we encourage children, especially children of color, especially young men, Hispanic and brown men, not to show any emotion. That's unhealthy. We want our young men, our Hispanic young men, our brown young men, we want them to be emotionally intelligent. So if they're angry in a moment or sad or happy or anxious, we want them to experience that. We don't want them to bury it. But of course, we have that a lot. If anybody wants to share any examples, we may have actually even been the culprit ourselves. You see a young boy who's crying or he's upset or he's angry, and the first thing we say to them is, stop crying, you're a boy. What does that mean? Right? Stop getting so upset. You're a boy. What does that mean? So because the student is a boy, that student isn't supposed to express emotion. So that's an unhealthy way of even mentoring or challenging our students to use their emotions. So the fact that our students are even expressing anger shows us that their emotional receptors are working, and that's a good thing. What our job is to help them manage and cope with anger and other emotions. Okay. So we all know too, just like being happy or being anxious, anger too is one of the most popular basic emotions that we want our kids to really know how to control and manage when they feel it. That's what the goal is today. All right. Any questions? Any comments? I think maybe Mr. Still isn't trying to say anything. Okay, so the first thing that I usually share with parents, especially when they, you know, immediately go to, they go to my son's teacher or my daughter's teacher says that my kid might need anger management. The first thing that I usually share with parents is that we have to identify what the triggers are, right? Even in ourselves. So, there are many common triggers for anger, such as losing patience or feeling as if your opinion or efforts aren't appreciated, injustices. Other causes of anger can include memories of traumatic and enraging events or worrying about personal problems. The same factors or triggers that we have as adults, our children have as well. research actually shows that children who work up, children who are raised or reared in an environment of aggressive or angry parents, they are more likely to lead a road of delinquency. So can we talk about that for a second? Can we imagine, right? In our 48 blocks, 10,000 households, in light of COVID, folks have lost jobs, it's a food desert, and some people's experience or transition through COVID hasn't been the brightest. It's actually maybe been extremely blight. So parents may be angry. Parents may be, expressing more aggression, right? Are we seeing that in the behavior of our kids? Absolutely. Absolutely. Research is right. So if you're being raised in an angry or an aggressive environment, you're more likely raising the same type of children who are delinquent, defiant, aggressive, lack compassion and empathy. And so we have to already know as educators that this might be the type of student that we're dealing with and why. So again, we can identify their triggers as well. Any questions? Any comments? Because I really do want this to be pretty fluid. No? Okay, we'll move on. Okay, triggers and warnings. A lot of times, triggers are always or typically people, places, or things that set us off. We want to say to our parents, before little Johnny even gets angry, what things are triggering him? What people or places or things are setting him off? We have to know those trends, because what we want to do is, in regards to management and coping with anger and other emotions, we want to be able to say, every time, I don't know, for whatever reason, but every time, I take, little Johnny here, he gets set off. I mean, I have a personal experience. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and, I can't braid. But she's at the point, she's 10 years old now. She wants a little box braids and she wants her hair done. I have fond memories of, I used to take Journey to a specific African braiding salon. And I promise you, my kid is a very even keel kid, like extremely calm and conservative temperament. But every time we would go into this specific African braiding salon, Journey would have a tantrum. She would turn up, like she would be set off. And after a while, at first when I was being a little negligent to it, oh, Journey, you just being tenderheaded, or, knock it off, you're only going to be here for a while, or, there's, pain and beauty, all that kind of stuff. And then I said, you know what, I'm ignoring something else. Because again, I know my kid. Why, when I take her here, is she being so triggered? Okay. So we want our parents to really know the triggers and in people, places, or things. When are their kids being set off? That's extremely important, because we really want to get in front of the problem. We want to be preventative, right? We want to be proactive. We don't want to be reactive. And so the warnings too also let us know when our kids are becoming angry, when we as adults are becoming angry, because their physical body responds to the triggers. Now, I'm going to ask for some participation here. How do you know when you're starting to get angry? I'd like for 2 or 3 people to share, please.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Owens. For me, when I begin to realize I'm getting angry, my mind will become somewhat still, if you will, where I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm isolating that situation, and I'll begin to conjure up methods in how to resolve the issue, and sometimes it's not the best manner in how to resolve them. That's how I know I'm getting angry. And so I have to do some deep breathing, play some music or something, tranquil music, or perhaps take a walk.
Okay. And other people share that same trigger too, Mr. Russell. If you don't mind, I'm going to coin it as a lot of times, if your mind is getting still, somebody else's mind may be getting cluttered, right? So, sometimes when you get angry, you get all these different thoughts. That's why then he goes right into deep breathing. When I focus on or being aware of my physiology and how my body responds to anger is, I know my heart starts beating fast. I start getting really agitated. Maybe I pace. Maybe my hands or my palms start getting sweaty. Anybody else want to share? I see you, Miss Floyd. You want to share?
I
So,
know, I'm sorry. Just for me, it's a family trait. When I get angry, I bite my lip very
okay,
hard. So I know when I start getting annoyed, I start biting my lip a little bit. It's time for me to back up and take a breath or leave the room or do something to control my anger.
nice. And so a lot of times, we may not necessarily pay attention to, our physiology and how our body is actually responding to angry or as it's beginning to get angry. And then that's another way to help us manage and cope, right? But see, these are tools and strategies that we don't oftentimes share with our parents or share with our students. And so by the time they've already, they've bitten their lip already, they have the cluttered thoughts, the heart is beating fast, and confrontation's already started, right? Because they haven't really paid attention to the triggers and the warnings, and then and now anger has taken another form, which is usually the aggression, right? Okay. Oopsie, sorry. Okay. So now as we go into ways to manage and cope, like I had mentioned before, practice deep breathing works. Using diversions, I'm going to go into how we use diversions, and then we've already talked about knowing our warning signs. But I always usually when I do this presentation and I share it with teens, I refer them to, because a lot of them follow different people on YouTube and Instagram, and even in that case, I'm saying, I know y'all follow a bunch of people on YouTube, so follow some people that have some content that you can really grow from, not just, all the dance challenges and all the other stuff that's going on. It doesn't matter. And so it's a guy that I follow, and he's actually Canadian. And when I share this information with teens, they already have an aha moment. And I want you to share this with parents and students as well, because they have to realize that a lot of times we feel isolated in whatever it is that we're going through. And I'm saying to them that I follow a guy named Matt Kama. He's in Canada, but he's talking about the same tools and strategies. Yeah, do people get, I mean, we're in Atlantic City, but do people get angry in Canada as well? Yes. Okay. But that's making the connection, engaging our kids, because a lot of our kids haven't left Atlantic City. So they feel very isolated in their issues. Let me get even more direct. A lot of our kids in Atlantic City, if they're in a certain neighborhood, haven't left that neighborhood. Can we talk about it? So even in that, it's a segregation of mindset. So we're in Atlantic City. It's only 48 blocks, and I'm saying to you that I know for sure that are families and children in the back Maryland area or section of Atlantic City that have never been down towards Richmond Avenue. Okay, just haven't. They haven't explored that side of town. And so if we know that these are the families and this is the audience that we're working with, we have to engage, we have to educate, we have to empower, we have to equip them and give them the tools. And so they have to practice deep breathing. Research shows that a lot of times, and we all know someone in our families, right? Research shows that a lot of times when people are angry too, they go get a cigarette, right? Let's be even more transparent, or they go roll up a blunt. And that's because it's something in the breathing technique. But see, if we can give them a different technique in breathing, then they may not necessarily have to pick up the cigarette or roll a Dutch, okay? Because something happens in the breathing, in the deep breathing, in the inhale, in the exhale, that in the moment gives them a temporary feeling of ease, like Mr. Russell said, ease or relaxation. But all they know how to do is, let me go get my pack of cigarettes, okay? They don't have any other tools, but now we're giving them other tools. You can still get that deep breathing in, Mom. That's how I'm talking to the parents these days. You don't need a cigarette. You can still get that deep breathing in. The same feeling that you're getting from that cigarette, I'm showing you that you can do without that, right? And so that's why it's important for us to engage, give them different tools. because a lot of them just don't know. All right. So Matt Kama has some points accompanied with my own research and ideas that I want to share as well. So the other thing that I really want us to really engage when we talk to parents and we talk to students is a lot of times our kids will say, so-and-so made me angry, right? Can we all agree to that? I see some heads shaking. So-and-so made me angry. You know what I say to parents and I say to students? That's not the truth, because we have to hold them accountable. That's not the truth. Anger is an emotion, and anger doesn't happen to us or happen to you. You do it, right? That's how we make them accountable for their behavior in the way that they responded to whatever the situation is. You have to make people accountable immediately. So no, Miss Floyd didn't make me do that. Miss Floyd didn't make me angry, right? It was a situation that I didn't respond to well, and I acted in anger. See? So now the situation isn't about Miss Floyd. I'm not passing the blame on what my behavior was and how I responded in anger. I'm not passing that on to Miss Floyd. That's not Miss Floyd's issue. It's Indra's issue. It's Miss Owens' issue. And so now, how am I going to change it? See what I'm saying? And that's what we have to teach our children to do. And that's cool, because we don't want them to feel like it's not a good thing to get angry. What happens is it's not a good thing when you don't know how to control and manage your anger. That's what we're talking about. We don't want, you don't want Micah, you don't want Makai to think that he can never get angry. You know how much suppressed anger he'd have? Come on, we got to be honest. And you want to raise an emotionally intelligent son so he can be an emotionally intelligent and awesome husband to somebody, or a supervisor or a CEO, right? Who knows how to manage his emotions. So it's not that we don't want him to get angry. We just want him to be able to manage and cope with the anger, right? It's almost kind of like, so say for instance, if we had a classroom full of kids right now, and I'm an adult, we had a classroom full of kids right now, and I'm the adult, and say myself and Miss Floyd, we're the teachers in the classroom, and I'm the support teacher, and Miss Floyd says something that I don't necessarily maybe agree with, and then I pop off on Miss Floyd in front of all the kids. Come on, right, Miss Floyd? But that's what our kids do, right? You have one or two kids that they disagree in the back of the class, or we having them think, parent, share, and their partner says one thing and they pop off, and everybody's looking like. And I share this in workshops when I work with teens, and I talk to them about managing and coping with their emotions, because at the end of the day, whether you think that Miss Floyd was the culprit behind you being angry or the way that you respond, that at the end of the day, only I look crazy. Only I look crazy. I look, what's some words we can use? Irrational, right? Short-tempered. When I use the same dialogue with teens, they say, wow, Ms. Owens, I think you wow, yeah, uncontrollable. But those are the same type of adjectives that we use. Those are the same type of adjectives that we use to describe animals you can't tame, right? And I'm saying to them, you don't want somebody to be able to use the same adjectives to describe your behavior that they would a pit bull if somebody let a pit bull out in the yard. You want to be compared to an animal? So that's why it's extremely important for us to let them know that you can get angry, because that's really the message that our kids are getting. They can't express emotion. And that's the unhealthy message. We don't want them to think that they cannot express emotion. What we want them to know is that the emotion is good. It's the way that you control and manage the emotion. Because I say to them, we're talking about anger, just like I'm talking to y'all today as my colleagues in the community of parents and whoever's following today. I'm saying to you that, we're talking about anger, but any emotion excessively needs to be managed and controlled, right? If somebody walked in every day and they were excessively happy, what would some of the folks around that person say? Oh God, her excessive happiness is annoying. You see what I'm saying? You can't even win. You can't be too happy. You can't be too sad. You can't be too angry. You understand what I'm saying? So it all has to be managed and coped in some degree. Okay. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about diversion. The diversions are when you have to back up from the triggers and the warning signs, and you have to create diversions for yourselves. I'm telling the students, create a diversion. Don't make an excuse about, somebody else made you angry. No, 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 no. Be aware of yourself. You acted in anger, and now create a diversion to avoid that situation again. Diversions are, like Miss Floyd said, get up and take a walk. Diversions are go to the bathroom, clear your mind, right? A diversion might be if you're home in a tense situation, take a nap. I know that's what I do sometimes. If I'm feeling kind of, I lay myself down because you got to know yourself first. Take a nap. Listen to some music. Like Mr. Russell said, go right into meditation, right? Okay. Any questions, any comments? Okay, so now 7 good points about anger, because I'm actually about to wrap up, and then I'll take some question, we'll do a Q&A, or if anybody has any insight to share or anything that you've taken away from today's forum. So 7 good points about anger. So just like I was saying, emotions don't happen to you, you do them, right? So we're going to start being very honest with our parents and our students, because we want them to be accountable, because we want to empower them, because we're giving them the tools. We want them to use the tools. But as long as we enable them in the behavior, right, they won't change. And what happens, change comes from awareness. So we got to start making our parents and our kids aware in love, right? We're not trying to be anybody's judge. We're saying, Mom, I got some of the easiest strategies that you can use at home. I know it's tense. I'm a professional and a parent, Mom, and I can say to you that I'm using some of the same strategies at home. I'm not saying to you, Mom, that you aren't allowed to get angry, because parents don't like to hear that either. What she mean? She don't know. I got 5 kids at home. I'm not saying that you aren't allowed to get angry. What I'm saying to you is, Mom, is that the way that you're responding is affecting the kids. So let's use some of these tools. And I'm saying to you, Mom, that they work because I'm using them. See? And that whole, it changes the whole dynamic of the relationship. And now Mom's ready to listen. All right. So number 1, emotions don't happen to you. You do them. We talked about that. We talked about awareness. Awareness helps you make the change. So in awareness, remember, we're paying attention to our triggers and the warnings. So some physiological triggers or triggers or warnings are, my palms are starting to get sweaty. My heart is starting to race. I'm starting to bite my lip, right? Now I need to create a diversion. Let me go take a walk. Okay. A lot of times too, we used to use the classroom management skill. If we had a student who was starting to maybe turn up in class, what's the first thing we used to do? We've all been in the classroom, most of us, send them to the water fountain. Go get a drink of water. Right? For real. We knowing that they need to take a walk. Or it's going to take you another 20, 30 minutes just to redirect the entire class. We know. Okay, breathing is very important. If you don't take anything else away from today's workshop, I need you to really, 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 really press upon parents to start really focusing on their breathing. Because in the 4 to 8 seconds that it takes to deep breathe the proper way, it can help and de-escalate in any situation. It really does. But see, a lot of people of color, we aren't being taught how to breathe. Or we think that, breathing exercises are connected to yoga, and yoga is a white sport. See, we all mixed up, and we got to start using these tools and the strategies that work for us. And I'm telling you that deep breathing works. So change the language and watch the behavior change too. So a lot of times I always talk about language and how important language is. So we got to really talk to our parents too, because we know that a lot of our kids are being raised in angry and aggressively charged households. We just know that. We know that because that's based on the kids' behavior, right? Because we know that we've met some parents that, you want to reach out to Johnny's mom about his behavior, and as soon as you meet the mom, you like, oh, that's where Johnny get it from. Okay, so we're already knowing that a lot of our kids are being raised in angry or aggression, aggressive environments. We know that. So we have to change the language. We have to tell our parents that the language it has to be positive. It has to be edifying. It has to be encouraging. And then we got to also reassure them that holding on to anger doesn't serve you. So that means I can have an issue with Miss Floyd, Miss Scott, Mr. Russell, and I can hold on to it for years. But at the end of the day, me holding on to that anger that I might have towards them, only who does it hurt? Me. Miss Scott still sleeping every night. Miss Floyd still sleeping every night. Mr. Russell still sleeping every night and going on about his day. When we hold on to anger, that only hurts us. It doesn't serve a purpose at all. And that's another reason why we want to encourage our parents and our kids that they have the permission to be angry. It's just about managing and coping it. We don't want them to not really focus on what their emotions are saying at the time. We don't want them to shut their emotional receptors off. We want them to be emotionally intelligent. That's what we want. And then everything happens for a reason. That's another diversion, right? So say for instance, everybody knows that I was in a car accident a few weeks ago, and I could have focused more on being angry at the fact that, the person slammed on their brakes really fast at like the last minute. And that's why I had an accident. I'm 39 years old. I ain't never been in a car accident in my life. I was afraid. But I could have really focused more on the fact that, this, person in front of me made me have an accident, right? Or I could reframe it to everything happens for a reason and not be angry at all. Like, you know what the real deal is? Thank you, God. I wasn't killed. People die in car accidents, Thank you, God, that person wasn't hurt. Or look, the real deal is, thank you, God, I had a rental car for a week that I didn't have to put gas in. You see what I'm saying? So now I've changed the whole vibe. I'm not angry at all anymore. Thank you, God, I was insured. You see what I'm saying? So just the fact that everything happens for a reason, that alone, that language and that vibe alone can wipe away the initial anger, right? And then most importantly, I share this with the teens a lot, but I want you to really share this with parents, and I want you to share this with the students as well, that you got to forgive yourself. And this is really going into something deeper, but I must close here because a lot of times we think that we're angry at a person or at a place or at a thing, but the real deal is that we're angry at ourselves. And I'm going to share a story. I had a teenager, actually, Miss Charmaine Gunter-Gary had me coming in, and I was doing some workshops for the LIT program. They are a great group of kids over at Second Baptist, and that's where they meet. But they're all throughout the community, and they're getting paid to, do certain things in the community. But LIT stands for leadership and training. And I'm telling you that they are being exposed to some really good workshops. So at the end, I'm talking about anger and how they can manage and cope. And I had a young lady share with me a story. And her story was this. She was upset or still angry at somebody in her family that she shared something with that they then went and told everybody, right? And so as she was sharing the story with me, she went right back into that moment. Body language, you know how they get while she was telling it. I saw it. Her physiology, she went right back to when it happened. And as soon as I said to her, you got to forgive yourself. And she started looking at me and she was smiling a little bit. And she was like, why? I said, because, and this is what we got to tell our students and our parents, because even though in that instance, you were vulnerable and you shared the information with whoever that was in your family and they told everybody, the real deal is, number one, it was still your truth. That's number one. And number two, you knew that you wasn't supposed to share with that person. You knew that person was in a safe space. And as soon as I said that to her, she was like, yo, you right. So you got to forgive yourself. And it's okay, because whatever you share with that person in that moment, it was your truth. What are they going to say? Now, is it a shame that that person shared it? Absolutely. But you're more upset and angry at yourself because you shared it with somebody that you knew you shouldn't have. But you were vulnerable. But that's okay too. And as soon as we started kind of talking about it like that, body language relaxed. She was smiling. And then I said, and now you don't have to be angry at that person anymore. You just know that that person you can't share certain stuff with. And now you're not angry at yourself anymore because you forgave yourself about telling that person. And you've also now forgiven that person. We all know that we have certain friends and certain relatives you can share stuff with and others you just can't, right? And we've done that too. We're grown. And I said that to her. I've done that. you share something with somebody, then as soon as you share it and somebody else finds out, you mad at yourself. You're not really mad at that person, you're mad at yourself because you knew you shouldn't have told that person in the first place, right? So I believe that that's the last slide. I thought I had a video in here, but I didn't integrate a video. Yes, that is the last slide. That's what I wanted to close with anyway. Let me look at my notes and make sure I didn't forget anything. And I didn't. Any questions? Oh, Mr. Steele, I see your hand up. Mr. Steele, you want to talk to me?
You know I do. First of all, I love you.
I love you too.
3 and 7 in your suggestions, the breathing and the forgiveness. I truly understand what you were saying there because after dealing with certain crews at the high school, I used to have to do that quite a bit. And to forgive yourself, sometimes that's hard to do because it depends on how you may have dealt with the situation. And sometimes you don't feel that forgiveness is necessary, depending on the situation. But I agree with what you have there, all 7 of those suggestions for it. I do agree with you. And it was very good. Thank you. Very informative.
Thank you, Mr. Steele. Anybody else? Because we're actually out of time. I have my email addresses up there if anybody has to ask any questions on the side. If you have any topics that you would like for me to share moving forward, just send me an email. Anybody else want to share or have any questions? Ms. Brown Kids letting me know that we're out of time. I'm sorry.
I just want to say, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just want to thank Ms. Owens for again giving us some awesome food for thought. And I apologize for the echo. I'm out in the hallway. But thank you so much, Ms. Owens, for sharing your expertise with us. I'm sure each one of us learned something that we can keep and share. So thank you so very much. And we look forward to your next workshop next month, continuing our conversations with the counselor. Thank you so much.
Thanks,